I agree.
All right. So, once again, this is Mid-Card Mana. And this is the... it's the rain.
Yeah.
So, Sam Killer, the wrestling connoisseur, the loose cannon. So we're going to talk about the rest of this week in WWE.
Yeah.
Because we ranted about Raw and SmackDown.
Both really long videos.
Both about hour long or a little bit longer.
So we're going to try and
not go as long on this. So the first thing we're going to talk about is 205 Live, which happened yesterday. That was November 28th. So getting a little bit more on the Enzo Amore's posse versus the rest of the Cruiserweight division, which is pretty much what's been going on. So last week, if you recall, the only person that won any of their matches was Tony Nese. And the implication was that Enzo might give him a title shot. If they win their matches, well, only one of them won the match, and that was Tony Nese. Unfortunately, Tony Nese was nowhere to be seen, both on Monday Night Raw and on 205.
Coincidence?
Or that's... We'll talk a little bit more about that later, because, I mean, he does have a tag team match, but it's not mentioned or highlighted at all that he was the only one to win the match from last week.
Is this just something that they missed out on when...
So, we'll see.
Yeah.
So, we have a sort of unofficial rematch between Rich Swann and Noam Dar, after Dar was the one that took the pin on Monday night from Rich Swann. So, Noam Dar once again loses after taking a kick to the head and a Phoenix Splash. And afterwards, Enzo basically is like, "You're a loser, man. Maybe you shouldn't be on the Zoe train." And Dar's like, "No, I want to be on the Zoe train." But, oh man, Enzo's slowly starting to alienate all these people that flocked around him.
Again.
So the next match was Kalisto versus Jack Gallagher. Kalisto gets a segment where he basically talks about how he's been feeling really lost since he lost the Cruiserweight title, but he's gonna try and climb back up the ranks again.
For you, Eddie. He's gonna do it for you.
Viva la raza.
That's always his go-to. Doing it for Eddie.
And for Ray.
Can't say that, though.
Because, Ray did it for Eddie also. Yeah. So.
I would love for him to say that. That would be great.
Doing
it for you. Beep. That's exactly what would happen.
Doing it for you, Pentagon. Doing it for you, Phoenix.
Doing it for you, Alberto. Oh. Then one of the backstage guys comes up and just slaps him.
I know.
Doing it for you. To get back at you, Ryback.
Doing it for you, Ric Flair.
Woo! Kalisto. What can you say?
I mean, he did end up getting the win. Unfortunately, he got the win by disqualification after the Brian Kendrick attacked him after Kalisto successfully hit the SDS, the Salida del Sol. Interesting to see Brian Kendrick be more of a manager at this point. Unfortunate that he doesn't get as much in-ring action as other talents, but I mean...
Yeah, I mean...
It's at that point in his career, I feel.
Yeah. I would be fine with him being a manager, but would hopefully be manager across the board, not just 205.
Like Titus?
Yeah.
Worldwide!
Oh.
So the next match, or the next thing that happens is a highlight reel for Hideo Itami.
Wednesday, not Tuesday.
Today is Wednesday, right? Is that, yeah, today is Wednesday.
Today.
That is what?
Chippy today.
Oh. That's good. I should do that more often.
Or shoes.
My feet are all hash up. Yeah. Anyway.
We could do a whole video on that.
Itami highlight reel. He'll be here one day. And I will weep. Though I don't know why yet. I don't know if it'll be out of joy or sadness. I'm hoping joy. I'm expecting sadness.
I
And so the next thing that happens after that is all the faces, so specifically Swann, Alexander, and Mustafa Ali, talk about Hideo Itami coming up. And then they start to drift to the number one contenders match, where Alexander says, that he thinks he's going to be the person to win the other match, to go up against Rich Swann. And so he thinks it's going to be himself, Cedric Alexander, versus Rich Swann for the number one contender spot. And Mustafa Ali is sort of like, hey man, I'm in that match too. Don't write me off just yet. Please, God, don't turn either one of these men heel. That's all I'm asking. It would be cheap, and I don't think it would help either of them. Especially because I like
TJ Perkins heel. That's how they should turn him.
TJ Perkins is a heel, and where is he exactly?
They tried to turn him face again, and it just fell flat because he went nowhere with being heel.
Yeah.
They didn't finish the storyline. That's why I'm joking.
They had him take one of Rich Swann's dreads.
I don't know who's running the show over there. Yeah. I don't know. I have no idea.
Anyway, so the last thing that happens is a tag match between Cedric Alexander and Mustafa Ali versus Tony Nese and Drew Gulak, which Enzo Amore talks up Drew Gulak and Tony Nese, saying they're team PowerPoint because Tony Nese has got the power
and he's on point.
Drew Gulak makes some good points. Yeah, it was just...
I'm for that.
Gassed. So Team PowerPoint ends up winning after Tony Nese again gets a win, rolls up Mustafa Ali. So Cedric Alexander and Mustafa Ali end the night arguing while Team PowerPoint celebrates their win.
Why does it now?
So there's a lot of stuff happening with the Cruiserweight division that I don't necessarily agree with.
Oh.
So, back to my issues on the Cruiserweight division. I feel like, especially as far as the storylines they've been saddled with, I'll say before Enzo Amore came on and basically started trash talking and skywalking, I don't know, whatever he says, seemed very much like they were trying to fit the cruiserweights into the mold of what has worked in the WWE in the past, but definitely farther in the past than recent era. So having them feud over like Alicia Fox or whatever, having the storylines be closer to that sort of thing, I think has done a disservice to the cruiserweights, having them fight over a girl and then have that dropped like completely out of nowhere. And it hasn't worked. I mean, rather than having them follow a different sort of format similar to what made the Cruiserweight division successful in the first place, the Cruiserweight Classic. So instead of having them have ridiculous gimmicks or stuff like that, have it be matches, be good matches.
I don't mind the gimmicks too bad, but it's the booking I actually hate. It's every week we have pretty much the same match, and I know that the division has a lot more performers than what's usually featured, and it's kind of the same thing that happens on all the other shows too.
A lot
they pick
more.
a few guys and they focus on those guys and don't use anybody else, and you know, by having the same match every week also, it's just, we've seen it. You know, I don't mind seeing it again.
Why should we care about it?
But I don't want to see it 6 times in a row.
Yeah.
Dare I say that the booking for main event or superstars week to week makes more sense than some of the stuff they do on the main shows. You know, where we'd have Curtis Axel versus Titus O'Neil. And the next week we'd have Curtis Axel versus Apollo, let's say. Or then the next week, Titus versus Bo Dallas. And then we'd have Bo Dallas versus Curtis. So we're kind of getting this big mix-up of all the guys that are focused on. We're not getting that in 205. It's
And I mean,
the
they do have
matches.
a pretty large roster as far as 205 talent.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, look at the people that we saw this past week. So it's Noam Dar, Enzo Amore, Drew Gulak, Tony Nese, Arya Davari. And then we also see Rich Swann, Cedric Alexander, Akira Tozawa, Mustafa Ali.
Finn Balor.
Don't tell Vince that. But then you think of the other people that are in the Cruiserweight division. Lince Dorado, Gran Metalik. I think
Rey Mysterio.
Raul Mendoza was part of the Cruiserweight Classic, although he's currently in NXT. But I mean, you could easily throw him in there a couple times. Mention how he was in the Cruiserweight Classic. I think he fought against Noam Dar.
I mean, it's true though. I mean, we have so many guys.
The Singh brothers.
Never featured on there.
Who both were in the Cruiserweight Classic. You have other people.
And then we have Hideo Itami coming in.
Yeah.
So.
I mean,
they're gonna have to
and
feature
possibly
Hideo.
Rockstar Spud.
Right. So, I don't know. They need to figure out the format and what they're wanting to do better. I don't know who's running the show. But I feel like it's somebody that doesn't want to be there, or this isn't their main focus.
Yeah.
And
it's such a shame because this show, which has now come to sort of be like a kiss of death for certain people,
and that's what's considered.
Should be instead a place for all of these talents to showcase their abilities. Like, Hideo Itami shouldn't be coming in to try and save this show.
Right.
Hideo Itami should be coming in because this show can help elevate him in a way that NXT just hasn't.
Mm-hmm.
And it's due to, of course, poor timing and injuries and all that. But I mean, this is a really good opportunity to show what made him so special in the first place and why he was the first big signee in this wave of people that came to NXT.
I feel like exactly with Austin Aries being let go because they had nothing for him in 205.
Which is baffling.
It almost is like whoever's doing the booking just beyond not caring, they just they have no.
They don't have any stock in it.
Yeah. And until that does happen, I don't expect 205
to improve.
To really get better, or for anybody to really care to watch.
Except for me.
So.
And my buddy at the airport.
That's 205.
I call Kevin Steen.
That's all of it, yeah.
Yeah. And so NXT this week featured
Next.
One for Sam.
Is it next?
Yes.
NXT
That's me and Asuka.
Take a picture of it. It's gonna go on Instagram.
Good. So NXT this week, they also did massive tapings for this week's NXT. So they had tapings, I think, through December. But the show that aired today featured Street Profits versus Tino Sabatelli and Riddick Moss. So they've been kind of teasing a feud between them for the past couple of weeks, in which the Street Profits defeat Tino and Moss, which I was glad about. I'm glad that Angelo Dawkins finally has a tag team that works for him. Yeah. He's been in there a long time.
He has.
So I'm glad something's finally sort of coming together for him, rather than him just being thrown to the wayside again.
We'll see where the team goes. I'm not completely sold on them yet. We'll see. They feel very...
I think the chemistry between him and Montez Ford is better than the chemistry he's had with anyone else.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So I think that helps a lot.
I think just the team itself feels very indie-ish. Not to
reminiscent of
CNC.
CNC.
But I feel like this is something that I could turn on, 30 years ago and saw in USWA. Hi, champ.
No, you're the champ.
Are you full?
Yes.
Um.
Dad, I'm not the champ. You are.
Yeah.
You're the future champ.
So yeah.
So the next match after that was Kairi Sane versus Peyton Royce. So
What?
Kairi Sane, of course, got the win after the beautiful elbow drop. Not surprising anyone, I think.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, sort of to touch upon what we were talking about before with the recent batch of NXT call-ups, I think a lot of people were surprised to not see the Iconic Duo as part of that. But I think one really good point that was made from some people was that they had gutted last year when they had the draft. They had gutted the NXT Women's Division through that, and then they left pretty much no one left except for Bayley and a couple of other people. Bayley, Asuka, Ember Moon, who was really just starting at that point.
Yeah.
I don't think she had a televised match quite yet. I don't recall. So they were left without a lot of female talent. So I think they were trying to avoid that this year by keeping up some of the higher upper card female talent, such as, of course, Ember Moon, Nikki Cross, the Iconic Duo, and a couple others like that, to just sort of have them still be around to help establish the next wave, so that by the time they go up, NXT is not going to be left without a bunch of people. And this gives a good opportunity for a lot of the women that they just signed with the Mae Young Classic to start to get that build, that TV build.
A lot of good talent in the Mae Young Classic.
And then from what I understand, Mercedes Martinez seems to have signed. So I mean, she would definitely have a good feud with Ember Moon from their time in Shimmer, back when Ember Moon was Athena. So just really good. It's a good opportunity to have a lot of this new talent now start to rise up.
Yeah.
So, for all the people that are disappointed that the Iconic Duo hasn't quite gone up yet, just think of this. I mean, they're helping to make sure that NXT is not left without a women's division. And who knows? I mean, there's still a good chance that one of the Iconic Duo, probably Peyton Royce more than Billie Kay, might get a short run as the NXT Women's Champion.
We're going to see more people come up soon. This was just kind of
to come up.
This was just kind of a random pull up all of a sudden.
It
and
seemed
the women's
very,
division needed it.
Very random.
I expect, of course, we're going to see Hideo Itami go to 205. We know Others of Pain's going to be coming up soon.
Hopefully to Raw, because they need the tag teams more.
Interesting to see that, well, I guess the spoiler, tag team titles change hands.
Yes.
We may see Sanity be brought up somewhere. I would assume Raw.
At the very least, Eric Young, because it seems like they're going to try and maybe break up this stable. Because Nikki Cross,
I can't see
as much as I think she could be ready to go up to the main roster, they need her in NXT.
I can see Killian Dane getting over on his own.
Killian Dane, I feel like might be next
getting over on his own.
Next big guy to be
Wolf
NXT champion.
Would be over on his own.
After War Games, he's got to have a much better chance. Maybe not to the grand stage of the main roster, but I think definitely as far as
NXT,
I
could totally see
definitely get a singles
taking
push.
EY and Dane and leaving Wolf behind, but I can't see them splitting them up and bringing them to the main roster and Wolf getting over by himself.
Is that you?
No.
Who is that? Is that Asuka? Is that me also?
Yeah.
I thought this is me too.
So yeah, I totally wouldn't be against it. I would be fine with Sanity coming up as a whole and joining Wyatt as well.
I think also I would definitely be interested in seeing, and from some of the spoilers I read, I'm not going to get too far into them, some of the spoilers I read for the NXT tapings, is I would very much be interested in seeing a match between, and this could be way later down the line, between Killian Dane as a singles competitor against Drew McIntyre.
Yeah, I think they've had a match.
I was like, I don't think
I know
in
they
the
have
E.
outside of WWE,
Yeah.
but I think they had one in NXT.
Did-
I believe so.
Perhaps.
Earlier in McIntyre's reign, I think they had one match. I think it ended like a no count out or something like that. Yeah, I mean, they could easily keep Dane and push him as a monster, or bring him up to the main roster already and push him as a monster.
Well, I mean, from the NXT tapings that they've had, it seems like that's the direction they're going in, is to try and push him as the monster of NXT.
I feel like they could do it on either brand too, and it would work. I mean, if they did it on Raw, of course, you could eventually tease the big Braun Dane match. Definitely want to hold off on that.
Because that could bring the house down, and I mean literally.
But to me, that would be the match you would build up to, and not have them cross paths into a Royal Rumble. And yeah, that could be huge. If he's on SmackDown, God, you just have to have him run through everybody.
And draw your own picture, and you go home.
Directions. Yeah. But, I mean, we're going to see more people called up after WrestleMania too. And that's still quite a while away, but it definitely plays into booking. I feel like, at this stage, with Sanity already losing the titles, it does make me wonder if they're not going to be brought up sooner than later.
And I mean, it seems like they're very comfortable with having Undisputed Era be the top team on NXT. And I mean, we could kind of start to see that from when they won the War Games match.
Oh, definitely.
That they are very high on Adam Cole.
Yeah.
But to see that they've actually now pulled the trigger, and at the taping, so sorry, spoiler alert, at the tapings, Undisputed Era, which is Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly specifically for that tag team, ended up winning the NXT Tag Team Championships from Sanity.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna take the timeline.
So it'll be interesting to see what could possibly happen there if they're going to have Sanity be two-time NXT Tag Team Champions, similar to the Revival, or...
Are we going to see almost turn face and Cole go after the title? Now, I feel like they're going to want to have them completely capture all the belts.
I think that would have to happen. And I think that maybe Tenera Conti might actually end up being officially joining them. I don't think she would get the title, the women's championship, but I mean, to just sort of have a representation on that front too, like how Sanity does with Nikki Cross.
Right. Could be interesting to see how it all plays out.
And speaking of tag teams, there's my rough transition into the last match, which was, I believe, the main event of this set of NXT tapings. So Trent Seven and Tyler Bate, Mustache Mountain, versus Pete Dunne and Mark Andrews, which is part of Young and Bitter, I believe. It used to be their stable name, or their tag team name. And so Mustache Mountain, a.k.a. Trent Seven and Tyler Bate, took issue with how Pete Dunne sort of left Wolfgang out to get beaten up by the Undisputed Era when they got attacked. So Mustache Mountain challenged their fellow stablemate of British Strong Style, Pete Dunne, and be like, you find yourself a partner and we'll have a match. So, trying to find a partner, he ends up finding Mark Andrews, willing to wrestle with him, only if Mark Andrews can get a title shot.
Oh.
If they win.
Interesting.
Yeah. Unfortunately for Mark Andrews, they do not win
Oh.
Mustache Mountain was just too high of a climb. So
That sounds so wrong.
I don't care. Trent 7, baby. Trent 7. I love Trent 7. Trent 7, another person who some people consider to be on the heavier side, but is still an incredible wrestler, similar to Chris Hero.
Yeah.
Just saying.
So that was the main
Throwing
event?
that out there. That was the main event, which ended with Tyler Driver 97 from Tyler Bate onto Pete Dunne to get the win.
Nice. Interesting how they're using the UK scene come into everything with NXT.
I think this should have been happening a long time ago. Especially because of how much
and by no
stock
means
they put in the UK division way at the beginning of the year when they had the UK tournament. And they had these UK guys turning up on NXT television kind of on and off. I mean, why not have this be a good opportunity for them?
It's kind of like a new US IC title.
For NXT?
In a lot of ways, yeah. And I'm okay with that.
I also like how they acknowledge their relationships outside of the WWE as well.
Yes.
Specifically only, though, for the UK division. In a way that they don't do with any other division or any other thing like NXT. They don't really do it. 205, they don't really do it. But 205, I think because they're so undeniably active outside of the WWE, it's hard to ignore.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's brought up that Trent Seven, Tyler Bate, and Pete Dunne are part of British Strong Style, which is a really popular stable over in the United Kingdom. I think they also touched a little bit upon the fact that Pete Dunne and Mark Andrews sort of have a long storied rivalry relationship with each other. And there's this one time, I think at the Download Festival earlier this year, where Mark Andrews' band was playing on stage and Pete Dunne went and attacked him in the middle of a set, like while he was playing a song.
I think one reason could be because it's not a threat to WWE in any way. It's not an American program or show where they're, giving promotion to, a competitor in some sense. So I think in that manner. Also, I think Triple H wants to help the wrestling community in general. He knows that you need these places in order for them to find the talent. Guys got to start somewhere. Mm-hmm. And they got to break into the business. They got to kind of hone their skills at places. Because WWE has always been the place where it's the best of the best, so to speak.
The cream of the crop.
Yeah, and they went in, they raided all the territories and got the best guys to do their show. And, I mean, WWE very much needs TNA, PWG, ROH,
New Japan.
They need all of these places to be successful.
Progress, World of Sports, now that they're
House of Hardcore.
Now they're going more towards the United Kingdom.
Since this isn't like the main WWE thing here, we're kind of talking about a little bit more indie stuff. I read that.
Indie was different. This is still part of WWE.
Kind of connects in because it's House of Hardcore, Tommy Dreamer. In one of the shows, there was, I don't think it was a House of Hardcore show, but it was an indie show with
there we go.
Technical difficulties. It was an indie show. Pull it back. There you go. Where, God, what was his name? From TNA. He was one of the, what?
You mind if I sit on me?
Yes, you can. Anyway, can't think of his name right now. He was in a tag team with like DJ Z and that bunch. They were like, bodybuilder group. And dude got his fronts knocked out in
like
this indie
Natalia.
match. Like, got him busted open. And there just so happened to be a dentist in the crowd. A surgical dentist, what do you call him?
Are you fucking with me?
No, I'm serious. He was in the crowd, and he was just like, got him after the show. He got the teeth and took him, and he was like, dude, I can take you back to my office and fix you up. No problem. So they went back to his office. He opened it up. He fixed dude's teeth up.
Is his name Isaac Yankum?
No, I'm serious. And so what's his face posted it on Instagram. I cannot think of his name right now. Just see his face. Robbie E. is what he went by in TNA. I can't think of what he goes by.
I don't know.
It was Robbie E. He used to have the crazy hair.
Yeah.
Got his fronts knocked out, and this dentist fixed him up. I mean, he showed before and after pictures, and it looked awesome. His teeth looked great, and it showed him before, and they were all jagged and everything. And
wrestler
for
fighter's
free,
teeth.
did it for free. And so Robbie E. did a shout out on Instagram. So Tommy Dreamer sees this, and tells the dentist that he has lifelong tickets to House of Hardcore. Whenever he wants to see a show, he just goes and sees a show.
Nice.
Because he was like, anybody that's willing to do that for a wrestler,
For free.
out of their pocket,
Yeah.
he's like totally welcome to any show they ever have.
Nice.
There will always be tickets for him. Although that was really cool.
That is very cool.
On both parts. So I just thought that would be a good way to end this segment.
So that was our
Why were
last.
dentists out there?
I don't know. Do you know Kane used to be a dentist?
I didn't.